Because I know e-commerce sites tend to get targeted by hackers.
Michaela, that's a great point that you bring in, because security is a huge concern, and especially when you're doing e-commerce, there's so many different regulations. Number one is PCI. So if you're running an e-commerce business, you have to be PCI compliant. And what Slatwall provides is Slatwall is a PA-DSS certified application, which is Payment Application Data Security Standards. So Slatwall is certified through that, which is a great peace of mind for people who are using Slatwall. And number two,
welcome back to the show. Today we're looking at Slatwall ColdFusion eCommerce platform and how it unleashes you beyond the shopping cart. And I'm here with Sumit Verma. Nearly made a mangle of your name there, Sumit.
that's okay.
And he's talking at Muracon in a few weeks. And we will look at what Slatwall is and why you want to use an e-commerce platform. And we'll look at some of the amazing features in Slatwall, including total order, customer management, inventory management, promotions, automations, workflows, customer data lists, a lot of integrations with other software for marketing, shipping, charging the credit card. Mura, of course, integrates with. And we'll hear about some of the new features in Slatwall. So welcome, Sumit.
Thanks, Michaela, for having me on the show. Glad to be here.
Great. And just in case you haven't met him before, he's been doing web development, REI, all kinds of tech stuff for over 15 years at 1024. And he's at that business, he's responsible for overseeing the whole development process for each project and also the technical infrastructure there. So, and as well as ColdFusion, he programs in a multitude of other languages as well. So,
yeah, been in this industry for a really long time, for almost 20 years now. Been developing in ColdFusion for almost 18 years. So yeah, it's exciting times. A lot of things have changed, and for better. So excited to be in today's time and technology.
Yeah, I think ColdFusion's getting more modern, with cool libraries like Slatwall and Mura and all kinds of other things that you can do these days with ColdFusion. So for those who haven't come across it before, what exactly is Slatwall? Because you said it's not a shopping cart when we were talking earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a shopping cart. Slatwall is an enterprise-level e-commerce platform. We've been doing e-commerce development for over 15 or close to 20 years now, and I and with my partners, I mean, we have developed many e-commerce programs, and we have worked with many clients. And what happened over the years that we realized that for every client, we will start from scratch and build a solution. And next project comes in, and we do it all over again. So 8 years back, we realized that, okay, there's got to be a better way to do this, and so we are not doing the same thing again and again. And that's where Slatwall started. So Slatwall is an e-commerce platform. Our idea was, because of our experience working with multiple clients, developing e-commerce application for clients from a lot of different industry, whether it was retail, it was manufacturing, all kinds of publishing. So what we thought about is, why not we create a platform which gets us 80% there? Because in e-commerce, 80% is the same for everybody, right? I mean, everybody needs product management. Everybody needs to be able to manage their orders, manage their catalog, manage their accounts, and have a shopping cart, right? Which is what most people are familiar with. When you call e-commerce, they say, oh, is this a shopping cart? Well, so that's the 80% piece of it. But then every project we work on and every client we work with, they have that 20% requirement, which is always specific to that business. And the clients that we have been working with, what used to happen, they will come back with the story that, well, we used X, Y, and Z, this platform, that platform, and they always had to change their business processes to fit into that platform's need. That, okay, this platform, it works this way, so I need to change and fit into that platform. And our idea was, okay, how can we develop a platform where client, they don't have to change their business processes, but the platform morphs itself into the client's business process, right? So we used that business first approach and created a platform which allows us to deliver that kind of solution to our clients, where whatever their business process, because we work with a very diverse client base. I mean, we have clients from publishing industry, from retail industry, from manufacturing, from California Prison Authority, which is actually pretty cool because the inmates are actually creating all the products, and that's what's sold to all the government agencies in California. So that's pretty cool. So very diverse industry, and everybody has their own unique requirements. And we are able to customize the platform to exactly and specifically meet their business needs, so they can do efficiently and in the most effective way is run their business.
Well, that's very interesting. And we'll talk a bit about how you managed to allow that customizing later. But maybe we ought to just ask, why use an e-commerce platform in the first place? Why not just code this yourself? What's the benefit of doing this?
Yeah, absolutely. You can absolutely code it yourself, which is what we did many times in the past. And what that means is, number one, it takes a lot of time, right? Because there's a lot of basic requirements that you have, right? You have to manage, like I said, product account, order inventory, and all that stuff. So on an average, if you build a basic e-commerce platform, or call it shopping cart or whatever, from scratch, it'll probably be at least couple of thousands of hours that you will need to put in. You will need maybe 6 months to a year or plus of 3-4 developers' time. So the question is, why do that from scratch? Because for that, do you have the expertise in-house to know the changing landscape of e-commerce, right? Because you have to stay on top of technology, as well as you also have to stay on top of markets, because in e-commerce, things are also changing quickly. Now people are looking for marketplace integration, right? How do I sell on Amazon? How do I sell on eBay? All that stuff. How do I integrate with these new online fulfillment providers, whether it be FedEx, UPS, all those things? How do I leverage? We have a client that wanted point of sale. So how do I create that? So there's so many new things that's happening, and this landscape is changing. If you create something from scratch, number one, you will end up spending a lot more money. You will have to stay on top of it and keep developing, and then you will have to support it. So you will need a big pool of developer in-house who will need to manage your infrastructure, manage your code. And most of the clients that we work with, they're not an IT or software company. They are an e-commerce company. They want to sell their product and services, and that's what their expertise is. So it doesn't make sense for them to move their core competency, which is running their business, to now become an expert in e-commerce and develop a solution and manage it. Then that's a totally different skill and mindset that they need. And what we are providing is just that partner that they can bring us and use Slatwall that can just do that for them, and they don't have to stay on top of technology.
Those are great reasons for using an existing platform. I think maybe some of the other things are, I'm assuming you do a lot of work on security, because I know e-commerce sites tend to get targeted by hackers.
Michaela, that's a great point that you bring in, because security is a huge concern, and especially when you're doing e-commerce, there's so many different regulations. Number one is PCI. So if you're running an e-commerce business, you have to be PCI compliant. And what Slatwall provides at Slatwall is a PA-DSS certified application, which is Payment Application Data Security Standards. So Slatwall is certified through that, which is a great peace of mind for people who are using Slatwall. And number two, at 1024 as a company, we are PCI Level 1 service provider. So that's also something we bring to the plate, because, and it's not just PCI, the security landscape is changing so quickly. Starting next month, people have to worry about GDPR. You know, so it's a never-ending quest of being compliant, and especially for a smaller company, it's challenging. It's very costly to go through these compliance requirements. I mean, if you go through just PA-DSS and PCI, it could cost you up to $50,000 to $100,000 per year just to be compliant, because you may need a third-party auditor who will be doing audit on an annual basis. So yeah, that's a great point. That's another great reason to use a third-party solution, which has done their due diligence and it's already security compliant. So you will still need to go through your own PCI, but at least out of those 12 controls that they have, you can check off many of those, saying that, okay, these are taken care by my third-party vendor.
That's great. And, you know, I think the other thing that I know for people who have e-commerce sites is they want it to have really high uptime, because it costs money. Every hour the site is down, it costs money. How do you address the reliability issue?
Yeah, another great question. And what we do is we provide Slatwall as a SaaS solution. So we call it Slatwall 24. That's our support service that we provide, which is a managed solution in AWS. So our platform is it's fully scalable, fully redundant, and 100% uptime, because what we're using is a load balanced infrastructure with auto scaling group. So it's pretty cool infrastructure that we were able to create. It's a self-healing environment, you know. And now today, everybody is moving towards that with Docker containers and stuff. And I know Mura guys are going Docker first environment, which is pretty cool, because that's where you want to be, especially in e-commerce. You don't want even 5 minutes of downtime, you know, because every minute that your site is down, it's costing you money. So in AWS environment, we have been able to build our stack, which is it's all fully scripted environment. There's no manual deployment of server or anything like that. Every time we deploy our code, it goes through auto scaling event, and then new stack, it's totally immutable. New stack gets created, it gets tested, and once its health check passes, then it comes back into load balancer, gets added back in, and if one server dies, another one automatically scales up. So that's another important reason to use a third-party stack, because otherwise you will need IT department, unless if you're big enough corporation to have your own IT. Otherwise, you will need somebody who can manage your infrastructure for you.
So you monitor the customers all the time, 24/7, I assume. Is that right? Or
we do monitor 24/7, but the cool thing is that with the advent of AWS and all the services and technology they offer, there's really no manual intervention needed, because the moment something goes down, a new environment is automatically spun up. So, and it is already kind of load balanced across multiple availability zones. So even if one full data center goes down, your environment is still available and up in another data center. But yes, we do monitor 24/7.
Great. So trying to understand exactly what Slackwall gives you, would it be fair to say that if you wanted to reproduce what Amazon.com does as an e-commerce site, you probably could do most of that using this? You know, you've got products, you've got special promotions, you could even sell tickets or digital things online, or really anything where you sell it online, this would let you do that.
Absolutely, you nailed it. Yeah, at the very basic level, which people are familiar with, is just the merchandise items, right? Your shirt, pants, shirt, hat, and pen, mug. Definitely you can do that, but Slatwall can also handle subscriptions, which is one of the area that we excel in, which is digital entitlement and subscriptions. Companies you're familiar with, like Scientific American, Inc. Magazine, Fast Company, they are using Slatwall platform to manage their subscriptions. Events, yes, if you're selling events, then you can use Slatwall to do that. Region 10 is in Texas school district. They use Slatwall to manage their events. They do close to, I think, close to maybe 50 to 100,000 events per year, and they manage it through Slatwall platform. But also one of the important aspect in managing merchandise is inventory management, and warehouse management, because as you mentioned, Amazon, right? You can imagine they have warehouses in multiple places, not just one. So, and then you have inventory sitting in each of these locations. And then you have multiple channel where you have orders coming in. You have order coming in through online. You may have your orders coming in through third-party vendors that you may have, affiliates that you may have. You may have order coming in through your phone, maybe application here, or point of sale. So what Slatwall does is it can manage inventory through your multiple channel and give you a real-time view into your inventory with every movement, how much you have on hand, how much is committed on order, how much you are expecting to receive on vendor order, and also at each different warehouse locations that you have. So that all complex inventory management is already built in. So yeah, there's a lot of but as you said, pretty much what you see on Amazon, digital entitlement or regular merchandising events, Slatwall can help you manage all those.
Right. And it's not just the front end of an e-commerce site like Amazon.com. It's also, like you were saying, the back end where you're dealing with inventory levels and shipping and making sure the customer's paid, or how you deal with when the payment fails, and calculating all the taxes for all the different, I don't know how many different tax locations there are in the United States now. It must be thousands with all the state and local and what have you. So there's a lot to deal with, I know, with this kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we actually call Slatwall, we like to call it the headless commerce, right? Is we specialize, and the application out of the box gives you the backend, where you can manage your product, where you can manage your inventory, where you can manage your shipping and fulfillment. We have integrations with different shipping providers, FedEx, UPS, USPS, and Indicia. All those integrations are built into Slatwall. We have tax integrations built with Avalara and Vertex to help you do tax calculation. We have payment integrations built with Elevon, Payflow Pro, Authorize.net, Stripe, Heartland, and Chase Payment Tech. All these payment integrations are built in for you to handle all the payment processing for your customer. And then the beauty of Slatwall is the front end is totally customizable. Because front end, we don't come up with out-of-the-box front end, because ideally what we do for every customer is front end is all their branding, how they want to brand, how they want to reach their customers. So you can customize and build whatever front end you want based on your company's branding, and Slatwall will be able to support that.
That is great. So you can run Slackwall as a SaaS where it's on your server. Can you also run it on your own servers, or?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have a lot of clients who we manage Slatwall solution for them as SaaS, but then again, it's an open source project, so you can download and you can get it set up and run on your own server. We have a lot of clients who are managing. Scientific American manages their own environment, and they do it internally. We have a lot of developers who are using Slatwall on our Slatwall group, Google group. There's close to, I think, between 300 and 400 developers that are using Slatwall, and most of them are managing Slatwall on their own server.
Okay, great. So if you do it on your own server, is there a cost involved? Or maybe I'm a little unclear on that, because I looked at your pricing page and saw the SaaS pricing, but
Yeah.
There's
no cost. It's an open source project, so it's free. You just download and you use it. The cost is the pricing page that you see. That is a cost if we are providing the hosted and managed SaaS solution, which covers all the PCI requirements, right? The security is huge, because if you're managing and hosting yourself, then you have to keep in mind that you will have to go through all the compliance and security requirements that are there for PCI. So when we provide and manage, we provide uptime guarantee, we provide the security compliances, and we also provide unlimited admin and email support. So we help our clients on a day-to-day basis. How do I set up a product? Hey, what about this order? How do I create this promotion? Or how do I set up taxes? So those kind of, it's a full service operation that we provide. So we become kind of an extended information technology company, which is helping them on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, well, that makes sense. So we mentioned earlier that you can really customize Slackwall. How exactly does that work on a technical level?
Yeah, so that's great. So that's the best part about Slatwall platform. It's the flexibility that Slatwall provide, and that's one of the things that most of our clients love the most. And the way we were able to achieve that is the way we architected the whole application. There are different integration points that you can hook into. It's event-driven architecture. So you can tap into every event that is broadcasted by Slatwall and write your custom code and extend Slatwall using the event architecture. At the same time, we have an integration architecture that Slatwall follows, where you can build a full-blown custom application and drop it into Slatwall using its integration architecture, and they both kind of gel together. So you are still on upgrade path. You can still, anytime new feature comes into Slatwall, you can upgrade without breaking anything in Slatwall. At the same time, different functionality in Slatwall, even at the view level, if you want to override certain view or services, you can extend those and override those. So it's all, the magic is in the way it is architected and the ability to extend or override either the service or the views or even the model. You can customize even the model of Slatwall 100% however you want. You leave the core model as is, and you can extend the model by writing your own integrations.
Great. So I know you can do automations and workflows. Tell us a bit about that, because that sounds intriguing.
Yeah, it is. It is actually really cool. So before I jump into workflow, I'll talk a little bit about collections. So collections are basically the core of Slatwall. Basically, what collections allows you to do is query any data point that we have in Slatwall. So any database object, any entity you want, you can create report. So call it kind of, in a layman's term, maybe a report builder. So there's a really nice and slick UI. Every listing in Slatwall admin is actually customizable because it uses collections. So which columns you want to see, what data points you want to see, how you want it sorted, all those things you can customize and change right from that listing view itself, because it's driven by what we call collection. So collection allows you to segment and filter your data however you want. Now, the next level from that is the workflows, because there's a lot of basic stuff application needs to do, like, for example, when the order is placed, an email needs to go out, right? So that is a very simple workflow, right? When an order is placed, send out an email. And that can be done in Slatwall by creating an email template. And then when you create a workflow, you pick order as your base object. And then you say, okay, the event is order placed success. So anytime an order is placed successfully, then you fire off this workflow. And the trigger, so the trigger is the event, and the task that this workflow will execute is sending the email. And in that sending of email, you define the email template, which we also build in Slatwall admin, and you configure all the attributes of to, from, subject, the body, all those things are customizable. And then this workflow then triggers that and says, okay, when this event happens, I'm going to trigger this task. But that is very simple level. What workflow gets interesting is you can get into more complex things. Like, how about I want to send a cart abandon email? So that's where you start combining the collection and workflow together. So you don't want to do an event-based workflow now. Now you want to do a schedule-based workflow. So what you want to do is you say, okay, give me a collection of all the carts that were created maybe in last 15 days, that has not been touched. So it was created 15 days ago and it has not been acted on. So give me a collection of those carts. Now, once you get that collection, then you can create a workflow where you can say, okay, now that is a dynamic collection which will change every time the date changes. So trigger a workflow where I want to send an email to every one of those users with their card, maybe once a day or twice a day or whenever I want. I create that schedule in the workflow and do that. So that's combination of that collection and workflow together becomes really powerful. But what you can also do is extend it to any level you want. You can say, okay, maybe I want to do a workflow where I want to get notified anytime my inventory is below a certain level. So again, you can create a collection of products that fall below a certain level of your inventory. You create a workflow, trigger that email, you're good to go. Maybe you want a workflow where you say, okay, anytime an order comes in, which is over $5,000, notify this person. There you go. That's another workflow that you can trigger. You can also, through workflow, not just trigger email, but the tasks that you can execute are, you can basically call any service method in Slatwall on those workflow tasks. So combination of collection and workflow is pretty powerful and allows you to do a lot of the things that you will typically go and start coding. Here, it allows you to just do that from the backend of Slatwall without writing even a single line of code.
So that's great. That saves a lot of work there. Are there other automations that Slatwall lets you do?
There's a lot of other automation that we do that depends on what the client's requirements are. So many times, most of the times when we are working with clients, they have their own internal systems, right? They may have an ERP system. Maybe they are using SAP. Maybe they are using Salesforce. Maybe they are using Hybris or Micros or whatever their internal system, CRM, ERP, or whatever marketing. Maybe sometimes they're using marketing automation systems like Pardot or whatever. So we can automate a lot of these data flow where we can see, okay, for example, we have Salesforce integration built in. So we can say, okay, anytime an account is created, push that as a contact in Salesforce. Whenever an order is placed, then convert that lead that we created on previous step to a contact and create an opportunity into Salesforce. So those kind of automations that we built based on our client requirements. So for some clients, we have created end of the day closing reports. So it would take typically them an hour at the end of every day, to do a closing report that they have to close their store, run their closing report, and then go home. That 1 hour process we were able to cut down to no time, because every day, 8 o'clock, we automated it. There's a report gets generated through workflow and collection, email gets sent out, there's your closing report, you're done. So many of those automations we can create. Even for inventory is another important aspect. Maybe they're using other systems where they have other channels that they're selling their products on, and we would do real-time inventory integration and automate that process. So anytime an order is placed in Slatwall, we will push the inventory, and same thing in the reverse order.
Now, do you have like a REST API for people to hook into, or if you want to take this even further?
Absolutely, yeah. So Slatwall is built with API first concept. So everything that we do in Slatwall has an API. In fact, our whole backend is built on Slatwall's own API. So everything that we do in backend or we do in front end is done by API. So people can use that API and they can integrate with their existing system. We have had clients who created a full-blown e-commerce app using the API, and and then you can build a whole front end, whether you want to use React Native or React.js, you want to use Angular, any kind of front end you want. You can, if you're using CMS, I mean, we have a very close integration with Mura CMS, and we love Mura CMS, but other community out there, people, if they're using Drupal, Joomla, whatever, doesn't really matter because it's an API. First, Headless Commerce, you can use our API to integrate into your existing CMS.
And so let's talk about the technology a little bit. Does it matter what version of ColdFusion you have, or what database or operating system you have on your server if you're using the open source version?
Great question. So in terms of ColdFusion, we require, I believe we require now 10 plus, because we were doing 9.1 plus, but now I think 6 months back we may have migrated to 10 plus. I'm not 100% sure on that. So either 9.1 or 10 plus. And on Lucy, it's 4.0 and above. 4.5 works the best. And that's about it. We are database agnostic because we leverage Hibernate and ORM technologies. So you can use MySQL, SQL Server, Oracle, Aurora DB, whatever database you want to use. And platform, you can use Windows, Linux, whatever platform you want. You can use Apache, Nginx, IAS. It's compatible with all.
Wow, really flexible there. So
that's the key, flexibility.
Yeah. So you mentioned some of those integrations there. So you can integrate with an existing ERP system, or?
Yes, yeah. So we in the open source platform, we don't have integrations built in because these are all ERP proprietary technologies, so we don't push out open source integration with those. But we have done integration with SAP, we have done integration with Hybris, as I mentioned, Salesforce, Micros, so many of these ERP and other platforms we have done integration with.
Now, I know you've got a new version out, and collections is part of that new feature. What other cool new things are in the new version of Slatwall?
Yeah, the new version that's coming out has a lot of pretty cool features. Collection is one of them. We have done a lot of enhancement into collection. One of the things that I talked about is every listing in Slatwall now is collection driven, and it allows you to do personalized collection, so you can customize the list based on what you need. So that's pretty cool. We have done a lot of enhancements to workflow. We've also built a totally new fulfillment UI, which is really, really slick. We call it pick, pack, ship interface. So from one single UI, you will be able to, in a couple of clicks, you will be able to do fulfillment. So people will save a lot of time using the pick, pack, ship interface and managing their fulfillment that way. We have also added a lot of accounting-related feature. Now we have, we can pretty much call it right now that we have a mini accounting package kind of built into Slatwall. So you can create your chart of accounts, and you can set up your ledger accounts, and then you can see where your revenue is, where your asset and liability. So you can map all the transactions that's happening in Slatwall to your chart of accounts, and then you can drive your average cost, your landed cost, and have all those calculations done for you. We actually finished 6 months ago. Now we have a point of sale system built into Slatwall, which is really, really cool and slick. We partnered with Star Micronics, which is one of the leading hardware provider in point of sale industry. And we partnered with them and created a really slick all-in-one point of sale system, which you just use an iPad, and it's called the Star Micronics hardware is called MPOP, which is a cash register and scanner, all built in one, and printer. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff coming into next version, which I think everybody who will see it, they will love it. And other than the point of sale solution, everything else is still available through the open source code base.
Great. So you mentioned accounting. Is there an integration, is there a way to integrate with existing accounting systems, or?
We do have integration with QuickBooks Online built in. So there's a basic integration with QuickBooks. Other than that, we do accounting integration pretty much based on whatever is the client's requirement. But at least you will be able to export the data. Every data point in Slatwall is exportable through collections UI. So you will be able to easily customize your export to meet your external accounting systems requirement.
All right. So anything else you want to share about Slatwall before we change the subject to something related?
I think that we covered everything. A couple of cool clients that we recently launched, which we will be covering at MiraCon as well. CalPIA, as I mentioned, that's pretty interesting. That's California Prison Authority. We worked with Blue River, and it's a fantastic project. We had a lot of fun working on that. And we didn't know that, but it was pretty cool to see inmates actually creating all the products. Every furniture, everything sold through site is built by inmates and then sold to the government agencies. So that was pretty cool. Total Wine and More, which is one of the largest wine retailer in the country. I think they have close to 170 retail stores, so we did a project for them. They're using Slatwall eCommerce. Sotheby's Auction House, which is the oldest and largest auction company in the world. They're, I think, multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company. They picked Slatwall as e-commerce platform for their whole organization. So they're using the point of sale. They have a location in Hong Kong that we are supporting, one location in New York, their retail location, as well as online. So and also a mobile app. So pretty a lot of cool stuff going on. So we're excited about the growth.
Great. So let's just change to a slightly different subject, which is, why are you proud to use ColdFusion?
All right, that's a great question. I would say, why not? I've been using ColdFusion for over, I think, over 18, 20 years or so, and there's no reason to move away from it. I mean, it's been dead for 20 years, but it is still alive. I mean, you hear about all these questions and stuff, but it does the job. I mean, we are, the premise ColdFusion was built on is giving ability to build application rapidly. And it used to be the rapid application development language. And I think that's still true. It's a great technology. It allows you to build these complex applications in a really short amount of time. And I hear a lot of times about, okay, what about the developer base? Is it small? Are the developers available? I mean, we have grown into, in the last couple of years now, our company size, we have maybe about 20 or so developers here, and none of the guys here were ColdFusion developer. We just hired developers, and within a couple of weeks time frame, they're able to get in and start contributing and making a difference and adding code to the code base, because the language is so nice, so clean, and it allows you to do all the things that you need to do in a quick way. And so we don't have any need. I know there's always new things. There's always going to be new technology, new cool stuff. But the question is that something you need to support the work that you're doing, or you just want it because, oh, it's so nice and cool? This other language allows me to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, is that something you need in your application? Well, no, not really, but it's cool. Okay, well, what does that mean? And that's what I always come across and see all these discussions going on. And in the last 18 years, I mean, we have a pretty complex application. And I've never had any point there, oh, I'm stuck. I need to do something which the language is not allowing me to do. So sure, other languages may have something cool, but at this point, at least, ColdFusion allows us to do everything that we need to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very powerful language. I can't think of too much you couldn't do in ColdFusion.
Yeah, and it hides all the verbosity of Java, and people use Java. I mean, PHP, can't imagine writing that code, So it's just nice and clean. I mean, and it's so concise. And obviously, tag-based, people who don't like or didn't like, sure, tag-based syntax, you don't need to use it. You go to component and services, and you just use the script base, which is very close to all other modern languages that are out there. So we're excited about it. It's very performant. It does everything that we need to do. And there's no reason for us to migrate away from it.
So what would it take to make ColdFusion even more alive this year?
I think what will make it more alive is people coming up with more and more cool applications like Slatwall, which are built and Mura. Those are, I would say, those are the two main open source applications that are available through ColdFusion platform. But what will make it more alive is people coming up with more open source applications, because that gets the traction of the general community out there. Anybody can use it. There's always the education piece, and I think the more conferences that we have, the more people from outside community we can attract towards the language will be good. But in general, I think the more applications that we have that we can showcase to show the power of ColdFusion, and not just power of ColdFusion, that just to show that, hey, here are cool applications built into using ColdFusion. ColdFusion may not be a better language than other languages out there, Ruby, Go, or whatever, but it does everything that's needed to do to build these cool applications. And I think that's what will make the difference by having more and more applications that are out there that can be showcased, and not necessarily just having community talk about it to no end.
That makes a lot of sense. So what are you looking forward to at this year's MiraCon?
Looking forward to see Mira 7.1, even though we use Mira extensively here at 1024. We have a lot of projects. I'm not too involved in a lot of those projects, so I'm going there. So I'm excited about seeing what they have in Mira 7.1. Obviously, it's always good to connect back to the community. There will be a lot of developers there. So I think it'll be fun time checking out what's new and exciting in Mira, meeting community, grabbing a few beers with our developers there, and just hanging out, having fun.
Sounds wonderful. So if people want to find you online, what are the best ways to do that, Sumit?
They can find me on LinkedIn. My profile is there. They can find me on Twitter. It's my handle is blogonria. They can always email me on Google Group. We have Slatwall Google Group. They can find me on 1024web.com, slatwallcommerce.com. Many ways to find me. They won't miss me.
Great. So we'll put all those links into the show notes at the TerraTech site, along with a transcript of the episode. So thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Michaela. I appreciate the opportunity.